runs The Athletic.
Steve, when you'd like the team to strike a better balance between getting back and hitting the offensive glass, is that something you can work on in practice, or is it something that can be rectified through film study and asking people to be attentive to it?
Yeah, be attentive to it in film study. I mean, I'll be honest, we showed them today the numbers. So we were fourth last year in transition defense, whatever points allowed. You know how much time we worked on it? We did one drill in training camp, one. So I think in Charlotte, we've been top 5 here, I believe, both years. I think in Charlotte in 5 years, 4 of the 5 years, we were top 5. And it used to be the same thing we do here. We do one drill like the first week of training camp, and then that's it. There was a great coach in this league, Coach Harder, who coached, Penn State, Oregon. I mean, he's a great defensive coach, one of the guys that was a pioneer of defense in our league. And he used to say transition defense is one aspect of basketball that takes absolutely no talent. It's just understanding and sprinting back. And it's, so much of it is just realizing the importance of it. That's it.
Philip Rossum-Reich, Orlando Magic Daily.
Is, perhaps some of the problems with the transition defense also something to do with how the defense is struggling in general? Like how do you kind of get the defense kind of back? Is it the kind of same as the offense, where you just need the right chemistry and the right kind of rotations to have everyone working together?
No, I mean, I think it's targeting it, but it's much more definitive than the offense, right? So if you really look at it, the two biggest differences I'm going to get to this. I'll give you the whole thing. The two biggest differences, if you look, because I know you guys are privy to the numbers, the two biggest differences in our defense from the first 2 years and this year are points at the rim, where we're 20th. In the first 2 years, last year we were like 7th. The first year I think we were like 8th. And transition defense, where again last year we were top 5. This year we're like 14th. Those are the two biggest problem areas. And by fixing those two things, we can go from wherever we are right now, 18th, to like 10th, and like 5 good games. Now, the other two areas though are deflections and steals. And we've been good deflections and steals. And people sometimes say J.I., he was a part of it, but we were also really good with deflections and steals after J.I. And so, that shows ball pressure. It shows hand activity, and it shows basically a commitment to individual and pick and roll defense. And that's a big part of all of it. That's a big part of all of it. And that's the part that, frankly, you can't work on as much right now. We did some today. But it is the part that, compared to a normal season where it's hard to get the reps that you'd like to get.
Dan Savage, OrlandoMagic.com.
Cliff, how much were some of the injured guys able to do in practice today? Michael Carter-Williams, et cetera. And what were the other areas of focus for today's session?
We did a lot of offensive organization because I think you can tell, we're just like every team. I think we're just blowing a ton of sets, which we haven't normally done in the past. So we just did a ton of just script offense, which I think will be helpful. In terms of the injured guys, MCW tried to get through practice. He had to pull himself out late. So I think, he was starting to get sore. Chief did the whole thing. Chuma did the whole thing. No contact. So, I think that those guys are making progress.
Any other questions for Coach Clifford? Dan, go ahead.
Cliff, when you look ahead to this Clippers team, obviously they're dealing with some health and protocol safety issues of their own. But what are some of the strengths that they've built on this year, coming out of last season?
Well, they're balanced, and they obviously have a much different team. Just personnel. Different personnel, but they have the two superstars. They have Lou Williams off the bench. Morris is a terrific player. Serge Ibaka they picked up. So, but they're good at both ends, and they're They can switch a lot of things. They're versatile defensively. And then they do a lot of things on offense. I mean, they have an ISO game, they have a pick and roll game, they have a post up game, they have a catch and shoot game. So there's a lot there. And what, obviously what we'll try to figure out and try to get information on is exactly who will be able to play tomorrow.
Josh Robbins, The Athletic.
Steve Cole has mentioned many times just how much he loves the sport of basketball. From your perspective, what do you see day to day that confirms that?
I don't think there's any. I think it's one of the first thing that hits you being around him is he likes to be in the gym. He likes practice. He likes shooting. He likes working on his game. He likes doing team things, which a lot of guys aren't as enthused about. I think he has a true love of basketball, and I think that comes out in practice and the way he plays. And I think it's why he's got a chance to continue to make such quick progress.
Any final questions? Go ahead, Dan.
Cliff, how much does a day like today help a guy like Cole when you're focusing on offensive organization and those elements, which, as a rookie, I'm sure he's still trying to pick up and continue to improve in some of those areas?
Yeah, no, these are the days, I mean, where for all the young guys, to be honest, it's shorter training camp. We're not as organized. We need to be. They know it. And the guys were very good today. I mean, they're disappointed in the way we played, disappointed particularly in the way we defended. And, they understand that we need to do better. The one thing, the one point I made to them today was last year after 19 games, our record was 8-11, and so we're in the same place we were last year, except it's different this year. 10 teams have a chance to, play to get into the playoffs. And so we're tied for 8th right now. And even though, we're not happy with, the way things have gone so far, we have a ton of room to grow. And the bottom line is we're tied for 8th place. So that's the way we should look at it.
Philip Rossman-Reich, Orlando Magic Daily.
How are the veterans kind of dealing with some of the frustrations? Because I know they certainly probably feel like that this team should be advancing, and I'm sure they put a lot of pressure on themselves to help this team advance and kind of climb the standings a little more tangibly. How are they handling the frustration, or what are you saying to them to kind of keep them focused on the goals ahead?
Well, that was the two things we talked about today in the locker room, were fatigue and frustration. There's more elements, I believe, this year to our season, which also can be a huge positive for our team if we handle it the right way. We're playing more games in a condensed schedule. It's different for all of us, and that's part of it. And then I think the other part is they understand the goalposts have moved. These guys have done a good job. The last 2 years, we've, qualified for the playoffs, and, you got to win in the playoffs. That's what this thing is all about. I mean, I feel good about the steps that we've taken here. I know we're viewed much differently around the league. At the end of the day, as a competitor for anybody, you have to win in the playoffs. That's what NBA basketball is all about. And they know that. Their eyes are wide open. And actually, they talked today too. And that was one of the things that was brought up about, we have to be able to try to take the next step. And so I think one of the things that we have to do, and this was brought up also today, is we have to stop worrying about the guys who can't play, okay, and try to, better take advantage of the strengths of the guys that are playing. And I think that's part of the frustration level also.
Any final questions? Okay. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.